guys, thanks for joining me here on another episode of Crossing the Line. Today we're going to be talking to a good friend of mine who also has a YouTube channel on prepping and things like that. His name is Tom. Tom, how are you today?
Yeah, good, mate. So I'm Tom. I've got the YouTube channel Aussie Survival and Preparedness. I'd appreciate you guys checking it out, and if you like what you see, giving me a like. But yeah, today Isaac and I are going to be having a bit of a chat about the recent attack in Sydney,
The
and
terrorist attack that people are refusing to call a terrorist attack, whether he's white, Muslim, black, brown, yellow, or is he pink alien, I really don't care. If you're going around committing those sort of crimes, terrorizing people, I'm pretty sure you're a terrorist. So, with along those lines,
his goal was to cause terror. When he
yeah,
entered that shopping center with a
yeah,
knife,
whether he's
his
mentally
goal
ill
was
or
to cause
not,
terror. He's a terrorist.
yes. So, along those lines, there's a lot of info that's coming out about that still because it's so fresh. We don't have all the information on that person or what exactly happened. So we're just going to be working with the information we have. So if we get anything wrong, sorry, but that's just the way it works. We don't know everything about the situation. I mean, 9/11 happened how long ago, and we still don't know all the details about that. Exactly why George Bush did it, we'll never know. But we'll have a look at it anyway, and we'll get into the story. But basically, on Sunday, was it Saturday? Sorry, in Sydney. Have you been to that shopping centre before? You lived in Sydney for a while.
What was it? Byron Junction? Bondi Junction? No, I've never been to
Bondi
that
Junction.
one.
All right, so
But like,
Bondi
as I
Junction,
said,
a man in his 40s who has now been named, trying to probably not use his name here so he doesn't get any infamy anyway, but he went on a stabbing rampage. It seems to be kind of random. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for it, as the media's found out after naming the wrong
I'll hold
person.
you up there.
What was that?
I'll hold you up there. I don't think the attack was random at all. When you've got 5 women dead and 1 man, it seems like this prick went after women. You
I
know,
think
and when you see the footage that was in the news,
yeah,
he has literally avoided any male contact that he
he's
possibly
avoided
could.
any confrontation because he wanted to get as many victims, I suppose, as he wanted, but by the looks of it. But there was a couple of heroes there who actually saved people, but I think it was 6 people have died now, and he's also stabbed the mother and an infant, and the mother has since died. So, I mean, what's got to be going through your head to want to stab an infant in the
Yeah,
mother's
that boils
arms?
my blood.
There's certain circles of hell for people like that, and a lot of people stood up and helped these victims. A lot of people stood up and helped the police officer who ended up shooting him dead. Unfortunately, he died pretty quickly, and the lady police officer who shot him did a fantastic job. But these things, whether it's terrorist related, whether it's mental health issue, I think are going to happen. There's nothing you can do. There's not enough padding you can put on any society where there is any sort of freedom of movement, freedom of thought, freedom of anything, where you can stop all these attacks from ever happening. I mean, he had a knife, a lot of knife crime in England. If he'd used a car like there was down in Melbourne on that Burke Street,
Wasn't there one in France as well with a truck?
All the time. That Christmas, it was last Christmas and the Christmas before, in Germany. We can see the Charlie Hebdo attacks in France all those years ago, where they used assault rifles and they used explosives. It doesn't matter. People like this will find a way to do it. A vehicle. I mean, you can see how much damage a truck or a car can do to people, or a knife. This guy killed all these people within a few minutes with just a single knife. And there's a few questions that I'd like to answer. And the government, I think, is liable for is not letting the citizens of Australia defend themselves. So in Australia, we are allowed firearms. For any of you Yanks that are watching, yes, we do have guns. Yes, we do have some good guns. We are generally allowed to have handguns, bolt actions, pump action, shotguns,
lever
action, whatever.
lever
It's
release
semi-automatics.
action.
They all have different categories here in Australia, but semi-automatics are the ones that are hard to get, I suppose. Except for pistols, which handguns are still kind of hard to get. You have to compete in a certain amount of audited, I suppose, shoots at a gun range. I think it's 3 or 4,
Yep.
depending on the state. Semi-automatics, you have pretty hard to get because you have to derive your entire paycheck from using firearms, which would mean you would have to be in pest destruction here in Australia, which any non-native animal is registered as a pest. So deer is a big one, camels, even feral cat culling, horses in the out west, anything like that. But you have to derive your entire business and money from shooting animals, basically, to be able to get that category of weapon, which is stupid. I don't agree with that at all. But we can get them, and we do get them. Now, it's obviously not as easy as it is in the States, but it's not too hard of a process. Honestly, it's a time-consuming process. It takes about 12 months and costs about $1,000 to get your firearms license, just your category A and B, which is like your bolt action and your basics. It doesn't include handguns, which is annoying. And yeah, it is possible to get, and a lot of people do have a really rich history of shooting and using firearms in Australia. Now, the one thing that is drastically different to the US with firearms is under basically no circumstances are we allowed to use a firearm to defend ourselves in basically any circumstance. I believe
you practically can't defend yourself with anything.
You can't. No, not here in Australia. You cannot defend yourself. I mean, we've seen instances.
You're allowed to be a victim.
Yeah, you're allowed to be a victim. You're not allowed to use a knife or a sword. I remember in a story not long ago, there was a 15-year-old boy in England who stabbed a home invader who had just beaten his mother to a pulp, and then was viciously beating him. He stabbed this dude. I think it was only like once or something, with like a pair of scissors he had on his bedside table, and he's facing, was it 17 years in jail for someone who broke into the home and tried to kill his mother and him. And this child is facing pretty much a whole lifetime in jail. I mean, if you're 15, he's going to spend 17 years in jail.
There was that guy in Sydney as well who he had a gun and he shot a guy with a samurai sword. After warning the guy with the samurai sword not to come at him, the guy's lunged at him with a samurai sword. At that point, you have to assume he's going to take your life.
And like, have these people not played rock, paper, scissors? Like, gun beats sword 99% of the time. Like, it's not a TV show. It's like, have you ever seen The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Guns kick their ass. I don't care how good you are with a sword. But we're not allowed to defend ourselves is basically the crux of the issue in Australia. And things like castle doctrine that they have in the US, where you're allowed to defend your home and your property with violent means, basically, to the point of killing someone. We don't have any of that here in Australia. Basically, you have to be a victim. You're legislated by the government, by law, to be a victim, and then they'll sort it out afterwards. There's a few cases where someone has waved a gun in their home at an intruder, and then the person who's done that has lost their firearms and proceeded to go to court, whether they've been convicted or not, and gone to jail. It's really up to a jury a lot of the time, so a lot of people will see the common sense and why they've done what they've done, and they'll let them off. But it shouldn't even be an issue. But this seems to be a rising issue in the States, where people are having their homes broken into or guns waved at them in the street, like it was the Black Lives Matter protest. I forget the name of the guy. He was an Uber driver trying to do a delivery. They stopped and surrounded his car, and then this Black Lives Matter protester pointed at low ready a AK-47 at this guy. This guy unsheathed his handgun, dropped him and killed him, proceeded to get out of there because he was surrounded by about 1,000 Black Lives Matter protests, and now he's in jail. I mean, you can't point a low ready
Quite similar to Carl
AK-47
Rittenhouse's story.
Yeah. So, if it's getting that bad in America, I'm afraid to say how bad it's going to get in Australia, where you can't even defend yourself if you're attacked by a mob of criminals in Townsville, running rampant, destroying people's homes, stealing cars, beating the crap out of people. Alice Springs is the same. The entire town's under lockdown half the time because of out of control youth and local Indigenous people bashing and robbing people, stealing cars, things like that. and we can't defend ourselves at all. If you get a punch up in the street because someone attacks you, you're liable to face charges. Now, another thing that irked me about this is the security guard that sadly lost his life in this stabbing attack. Was he armed? Was he allowed to have a weapon? Because a lot of security guards aren't and don't in Australia.
No,
We do have
the
some
ones in
armed
malls,
guards.
especially in the malls in Sydney, are never armed.
Exactly.
They're not even allowed to touch you.
I was actually honestly surprised. Like, if this was England, that female copper who shot this dude and killed him, she wouldn't have had a gun. The only people in England, the only coppers in England who have a gun are like the anti-terrorist squad, and they kind of hover around.
Yeah,
like,
but at least they can
important
fight in
places.
England.
Yeah, like they hover around places. Maybe like the shopping mall like that, they might be over there. But she was alone. She had no backup there. By the looks of it, I mean, we saw civilians helping her with chairs, and someone grabbed a bollard and was holding this dude at bay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Now,
But even that guy looked pretty girly doing it. Like, there's just a massive lack of testosterone
yeah,
in men in this day and age.
that's another thing as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos of like full-grown, I suppose you call Middle Eastern men, like running away, giggling about what's going on. Oh, I can hear gunshots and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what the demographic is over there. I'd say heavily Middle Eastern where it is Bondi. And heavily soy boy, I'd say, being Bondi as well. But the lack of testosterone and the lack of will to defend people is saddening. I mean, I've seen instances where something like this has happened and about 30 people have stomped the perpetrator out in about 10 seconds flat. But it's a lot of this. I think it's more to do with like big cities, because I don't live in a big city, but like, if something like this was to happen in a small town, I think there would be a lot more people eager to jump in and defend these people and stop this from happening. But big cities, I don't know, it's too many people, you know, like it cheapens life. Like, I don't get this. Yeah, cities just seem to be really bad for that kind of thing.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I got out of Sydney and moved to Tassie, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, other things like you could probably talk about is like, being aware of your surroundings in places like this. Because I know when I go somewhere, I'm always kind of, I'm not military trained or anything like that, but God no. But
no, but you don't have to be to keep
you
an
can
eye on.
Kind of be aware
That guy looks a bit sus, you know. Keep an eye on him.
I don't know whether it's a male thing or, but if we go out to a pub and there's that one loud dickhead who's mouthing off and knocking drinks over and, causing a scene. A lot of women won't notice him like we do, but like if you're out with your wife or your girlfriend or even friends or something, someone you're trying to protect, especially like your partner, we clock those people straight away. We're like, all right, well, he's going to be an issue. Like, I just recently went to a music festival and we're standing in line to get merch, and there was some 55-year-old crackhead dude on gear standing like 3 feet away with his crackhead missus, just basically humping each other in the middle of the line. And he was trying to pick fights with people in the rows next to him. So I positioned myself in between me and my wife and made sure he wasn't going to be an issue. It's things like that. I just don't think people really see that anymore. They don't.
Like when I go out to dinner with my wife, I will always position myself as far into the restaurant with my back against the wall so I can see all the exits and who's in there and what they're doing.
And that's funny.
Probably sounds a little bit paranoid, but
restaurant. I mean, if
what did you say, sir?
Your wife's probably the biggest threat in the restaurant. If anyone's going to stab you, it's going to be her. But I think a lot of people don't think about these things, especially in a large crowded place. Like, I go to a lot of.
Well, I started thinking about it after an incident when I was in Sydney, where this Filipino couple had broken up, and she was dating somebody else. Her ex has come in, stabbed the new partner to death, and stabbed her as well.
Was that the Taekwondo dude? It was like
I'm not sure, but it was the incident in Hornsby.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah. So that was about 5 k's from my house.
Yeah. There's a lot of things like that people just. I think it's because we are a disarmed population. I don't know whether it's Australia, but we're very relaxed and we're very lazy as a population. Like if you try to, if you try to voice an opinion about something like, hey guys, make sure you know where we are and where the fire exits are and stuff like that, in case there is some sort of attack. There's a mentality in Australia where it's like,
she'll be right.
Yeah, she'll be right. Yeah, I'm honest to God, I'm thinking about doing a documentary on the she'll be right and how it's killing Australia, because it really is and has got a stranglehold on our country and our people, because we vote in the same morons every time, and they just go, oh well, she'll be right. We have all these impending disasters on the horizon, not some man-made fake thing like climate change and that little archangel of hell Greta Thunberg is promoting, but
interesting little fact there. The Arctic ice is actually increasing, not decreasing.
Yeah, well, don't tell Greta that, because she can't make money out of that and do it.
Well, I seen an article on her the other day where it's like she'd lost all of her power because she wasn't a little child anymore.
Yeah, well, people
like Mitch wouldn't be interested.
Now, it should be too old for him anyway. But
that was my point.
I think that mentality of she'll be right in Australia is the big issues, because after things like the Lint Cafe siege, now what was his Mans Monis or whatever his name was, he took hostages in a cafe right across the road from a very popular it's Channel 7 Sunrise morning day show. Is the biggest one in Australia. If they probably have
location is pretty sus, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's almost
right across from the camera.
He had several firearms. He had no rights to, so they're all illegal firearms. He took hostages, ended up killing a dude in there because he was gay. And when the police finally stormed the building, I think they end up killing at least one of the hostages. They shot a woman to death. I remember watching that siege. It was quite a while ago. But I remember watching that siege, and there was a cameraman in the news building with a sniper team. And now that sniper team had, I think it was it was either a 50 cal or a 338 Lapua, and they had that trained on him, and they could have shot him that many times. It's not funny. They could have ended that.
Yeah, but they reckon that they couldn't because it was an ex-bank, and the bullet would have deflected. Could have deflected. So there's a little bit
through the glass with MP5s.
But when they go into the room, and they finally storm it, and their guns are up above their head.
Yeah, because they're all trying to get the killing shot.
Yeah,
it's like no, I want to be the first guy to. There's only one.
And then they shoot someone themselves in there who wasn't the terrorist.
Yeah. Did you ever watch a documentary on that SAS raid in England? Those.
On the Iranian embassy.
Yeah, Iranian. Yeah, there we go. We're back. It's almost like
it's
repeating itself. The Iranian embassy siege. That was amazing what those guys did, and our police force weren't really prepared for just one dude with an AK or a shotgun. I think he had. But those people in that room and the people surrounding it and the whole country at the time was just like had the whole thing of no, she'll be right, and we're not going to be right. I think a lot of people are going to realise that these things are going to happen, whether it's
I was working that night because I'm a registered nurse, and I was working the night that it happened in the hospital. I remember exactly where I was because I was in ICU, and we were, I think, 45 k's away from where that happened, and we were not even the closest hospital, and we were all on standby to receive casualties.
Because they know there could have been a black person, and then the police have to shoot the black person.
Yeah, that doesn't happen so much here.
I don't know. No, they just.
Well, you haven't been shot.
Police don't shoot many people here in Australia, so it's not like the US where they use them as target practice over there. But shoot at police, you're going to get shot at. But
do stupid shit, win stupid prizes.
Exactly. What is it? Fuck around and find out. But the way Australia has made itself with after the shooting in your lovely home of Tasmania, they decided to take away most of our guns and most of our rights to self-defense because of one nut job with a gun. Apparently. Yeah. If the story's true.
See, that's the part I don't get, is why take away the rights to self-defense when you have a guy with a gun who goes through, kills a bunch of people, but you guys can't defend yourselves. And on top of that, they take away all the guns, but the people that don't give away the guns are the bad guys who are still shooting people.
Yeah, and not to mention that, like it's every bad guy with a gun's been stopped by a good guy with a gun. Like every bad guy with a gun ends up getting shot, but whether it's a police officer or not, there's still a person with a gun. So I get
like the gun laws that we have here and the background checks that we have here. You should be fairly confident in a person that you give a gun to be able to use that gun in a defense situation.
Legally as well,
Because otherwise, why are you going through all the background checks? Why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Exactly. If they can't trust us that we're not going to go up and shoot, like I have my firearms license, I have several firearms. It's not hard to keep them legally. It's easy to do. You keep them locked up, keep the bolts out of them. Ammunition separate, which is I don't agree with any of that because if someone breaks into my home, to me to get to my gun safe, unlock it, put a bolt into a gun, and then load it. Load a magazine or load a round. It's a long process, so I might as well just go, excuse me, sir, can you mind just waiting at the front door while I go and load my firearm? You might as well have a musket, and have to load it from
load that.
Maybe that's what we should magazine go around. Because I'd be like, oh, how dare you, sir, knock on my front porch? I shall put a hole in you the size of my fist with this 50 caliber ball musket. Ruffian breaks into your house and you break out a musket or a small cannon. I'd be pretty happy with that. But the mentality
I'm sorry, but
if
I break into your house and you come to the front door for a musket, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, with a triangular bayonet because you can't stitch up those wounds very easily. Oh, God, can you imagine getting that? No, thanks. But
which country was it that had the triangular bayonets? Was it France?
No, the old, you're talking like the old black powder rifle ones.
Yeah, even past then, there was a country that was still using them in the Second World War, those triangular bayonets.
Oh, it's probably France.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like something the French would do. I don't know. The Americans got in trouble during World War I for using shotguns in trenches.
Yeah, it's because they're effective.
It's like, well, stop gassing our troops and we won't use, buckshot, you bastards. But the mentality in Australia of letting the government and letting the police, not so much the police, but letting the government take care of you, seems to be an issue. Like, there's a lot of people whinging that there weren't enough police officers there. There's a lot of people whinging that the government should have known that this guy was going to go cuckoo and do all this. I mean, there's red flags but you never know what someone's going to do. There's no, like I was saying, there's no amount of cushioning and no amount of baby proofing you can do.
What are they going to do now? Ban knives? Yeah,
well, that's what England's done. They ban.
I would like to cut my food with something.
And they have more stabbings than any other place I know of. I mean, it's ridiculous. But the power that the people give to the government and the faith that they have in the government is almost to like a religious zealotry amount,
even after what happened in 2020, they still give power to the government.
Exactly. Like 2019 to current day, I think mandates are still in place for the old jabberoo for frontline healthcare workers. And I know teachers, I think it was New South Wales, teachers in New South Wales who didn't get the jab and were laid off have now allowed to come back to work. But in Queensland, they brought them back to work, I think it was about 12 months ago, but they come back at a lower pay rate as like a punishment for not doing what the government said. Because they were staunch and they held to their own beliefs.
Well, here, you can work as a nurse now unvaccinated. Because I was not getting a third one, and a few of my mates down here refused point blank to get it. They went and did farm work until they could come back.
Yeah. And now New South Wales, they're making people who didn't get the jab and are coming back to work, they're making them sign a stat deck or an affidavit, whatever you call it. I don't even know. It wouldn't be an affidavit. But a stat deck saying that they refused the jab against all health guidelines and blah, 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 blah. So they make him sign a legal document saying, basically waiving their rights to any compensation so they can get their job back. So they know they fucked up. They know they broke the law. And the Australian government doesn't care. And that was a lot of the mentality going around here in Australia at the moment. We're one of the most locked down countries in the world. And now Americans hanging a lot of shit on us for locking down like Melbourne. But Melbourne's a very isolated incident. Up here in Queensland, we had a pretty good run of it. Definitely,
they should have locked Melbourne down and then gassed it.
They should have in Minecraft. Hey, but
yeah, in Minecraft,
exactly. But I think Victoria as a whole just needs to be chiseled off and pushed out to sea. I'm sorry,
and sunk.
Yeah, well, you live in Tasmania, so you can be their new buddies. Maybe you could invade Melbourne and liberate them from their soy lattes and their gay pride parades and their drag queen shows for children.
Well, maybe Putin could just be useful and do something to Melbourne for us.
Oh, well, we could use Melbourne as like all the Melbourneite people as like a human shield. Like, what was it, South Park movie? They have Operation Get Behind the Darkie. We'll just use it for Operation Get Behind the Melbourne guy. I mean, he'd be sitting there with his little fake Akubra hat and drinking his chai latte.
Now, all you got to do is go into Melbourne and just tell them that they're the most special forces and they need to go in first. And they'll believe that. Oh, special? All right.
Yeah, special. Not as in like special forces, but like special forces like they get on a short bus. Like, if they're going to do like amphibious landings with those special forces, their little boat's going to be a lot shorter than the other one.
Imagine if you
sit
did
up the back of the short
Melbourne.
Yeah. So, Melbourne aside, Australia did some terrible things with COVID. We built just a little couple of concentration camps. Not a big deal. I know what you're whinging about. But the government and the people just seem to go, no, the government's going to take our back for, take care of us. And a lot of people are just wanting a handout from the government. We have a really big like handout. Like, if we have a natural disaster here in Australia, the first thing people are asking for is a government payout.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I get like the
A
government.
bit about why the government's in debt.
Yeah, I get why like, the government takes like 60% of our dollar. It's like a minimum 40 to 58% or something like that. It's like 60% of our dollar.
Literally every time that I had COVID, nurses were telling me, "Oh, go get the $700 for being off work." And I was like, "No, because my kids will be paying that back. All this crap that people keep getting from the government, my kids will be paying back down the track."
Kids won't be paying it back though, because they'll be on the front lines of Taiwan or Ukraine fighting over wheat. Like,
oh, that's fine.
Yeah, it's
I'll go to war with you, and you can go in front of me. There's enough of you to protect me.
I'll definitely block more bullets than they would, those skinny little bastards. But Australia's got this mentality of that the government owes them something, which they do owe us something. They owe us all of our tax money back because they keep sending it over to fucking Ukraine. We've sent over $100 million to Ukraine, and I don't see them building.
And they're still fucking losing.
I can't even go to my local hospital for a broken arm. We couldn't give birth at our local hospital. Couldn't go to there. You can't go there for a broken arm. They ship you somewhere else. It's ridiculous in Australia, and it's not like it's a tiny small town. It's fucking 60, 70,000 people here. There's a lot of people for a hospital to not be able to fix a broken arm. It's ridiculous.
So where I am, there's probably 20, 30,000 people here in the major city there. Probably another 20,000 in the other big city and 10,000 where I live. And there's two private and a public hospital that can take on trauma with helicopters, helipads. What they can't deal with, they fly to Melbourne.
They got rid of our helipad and built nurse housing, I believe.
Why?
I don't know. I don't even know where the helicopter lands anymore because we do use it if in an emergency, but I don't know where the fuck they land. Like
when I was in Sydney, Hornsby didn't even have a helipad at that stage. They would land the helicopter on the sports oval next to the hospital.
Yeah, that's probably what we do. Yeah, that's probably what we do. But there was a helipad right next to the hospital, and they got rid of that and built something.
But my point was, for having two major hospitals for about 60,000 people, we have more capability than you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
There's I have family that live up in a place north of me called Gladstone, fucking like 6 hours, 7 hours drive, and their hospital, they have a massive population. It's a big export import wharf. They have mining industry there, all that. It's and their hospital is absolutely garbage. They cannot do just about anything at their hospital. Every time I hear someone talk about it, they're sent somewhere else. Same with our hospital here. We send somewhere else. And we're sending all that money overseas, and our government, to get back on topic, is just enabling the population with little tiny handouts. Like Kevin Rudd, our ex-Prime Minister, when he was in, every couple of weeks he'd give out a handout of $700 or something for some reason. And then you got people whinging that they didn't get it, so then he'd give out more. It's like when COVID kicked in, they didn't do anything for the people who lost their jobs and got shut down. They just doubled the dole payment. So people who weren't
that's
working,
the thing. Keep
got paid
the
double.
population dependent on the government.
Yes.
And then whatever laws the government wants to bring in, you have to support, or you don't get those payments that you've been relying on.
So I
You
believe
don't get to go to the hospital you've been relying on for free.
Yeah, if you're solely on government benefits and you don't do you don't work, I'd say more than 10 hours a week, 18 hours a week is what, I think 18 hours is bare minimum. If you don't do that, I don't think you should have the right to vote. Because you're just a dependent. And so why do you get to vote on where my money that I earn and that I go to work for goes? It's not fair. So the issue with the dependency in Australia is getting worse and worse. Is we were dependent on the government during COVID, and people are still dependent on the government for security. Now, people saying, "Oh well, there should have been more police officers at this Bondi Junction. There should have been more security guards." You have your own due diligence to do with your own security, with your own personal safety. I mean, all these people here were unarmed because the government forces them to be unarmed. So we never know what might have happened if we were allowed to open or conceal carry, or at least, carry a pocket knife even. I mean, we've got, I think it's in Brisbane, they've got police roaming around, patting down people and scanning with metal detectors in case they have a knife on them, which there's plenty of legitimate reasons to carry a knife on you without any sort of criminal activity in mind.
Yeah, like I'd take a knife with me when I go to marine rescue, because when I'm there, I have to be able to cut a rope on a boat.
Exactly. It's a tool for your trade. I use a knife. I carry a knife on me when I go to work, or basically when I go anywhere, because the amount of times that you need a knife is amazing. I'd rather be caught with it than be caught without it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like cutting
definitely.
a seatbelt after a crash.
If you go into the water,
Exactly,
if you've got a knife that has a glass breaker on it, you can get out.
Exactly.
You can cut your seatbelt.
Our government doesn't want us to have the right. We don't even have the right here in Australia to carry a taser and or pepper spray. See, I get people are going to misuse those things,
because our government wants women to be hurt and raped.
Exactly, and then they mass introduce illegal immigrants to this country to do that for them.
I almost would be okay if it was just women who were allowed to conceal carry, because at least then some would be armed.
I'd be 100% fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd make sure my wife has a fantastic Glock 19 or something like that.
But not only that, I know you'd make sure she has the training to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I wouldn't, when we use firearms now, when we go shooting now, I'll make we went shooting the other week. We took our infant daughter to the gun range. She couldn't fire anything, obviously, but she's getting keen. So she's only like 8 weeks old at the time, so she will get her into it while she's young. But I made sure my wife knows what she's doing. She does. She knows how to use firearms safely and knows how to. She's crack shot anyway. It's just the amount of people in Australia that are happy with us being defenceless and happy for these incidences to keep happening. I mean, we can sit there cry and scream about Muslims or Jews and no, he was white. I don't really care who did it or why they did it. It's just, if this happens again, which it's going to happen again eventually somewhere, We should have the right and we should have the ability to defend ourselves and take care of one another.
Oh, I agree. It's going to happen again.
Yeah. I mean, it
It
always
just,
does.
you've seen like over the last couple of years, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And every time it gets worse, it gets more media coverage. And so people like, oh crap, I can get some fame out of this. I
And the
say,
media
let's
love it.
give them their fame. Let's hang them publicly.
Yeah. Public
Then they're gonna-
hanging, for politicians that screw up the country and as bad as they do, same for them. These people that do this thing, like, I'm glad this guy got put down as quickly as he did, but like he got off lightly. If you ask me,
after stabbing that baby, mate.
because honestly, in the Australian jail system, he was going to get put away in a nice little quiet ward by himself, and he wasn't going to get hurt. He wasn't going to get jail justice, as they say, that happens to pedos and things like that. That doesn't happen
look
anymore.
at you bring up Port Arthur before. Look where Martin Bryant is. He's living the life in jail.
Yeah, he's in there writing books.
Then again, there is since I've come down here, a lot of people don't actually believe he was responsible for it.
Yeah, well, not just down there. A lot of people don't believe he was solely
Yeah,
responsible.
well, it's made me look into it a little bit more because up and until then, I thought it was pretty concrete.
Yeah, I don't really care about how it happened, but the amount of people, the Australian people in that generation that just decided
Handed over their firearms and didn't
just
say no.
decided, yeah, because it's like now with people in, say, the US or over here as well, but the US is easier to point out because it's more polar opposites. Like the old people that are wanting to vote for Joe Biden just because he's a nice old man, they're not going to be around long enough to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, he's real nice
that
at the
vote.
kid to sniff.
It's like the same people that handed over their guns here in Australia. They weren't around long enough, and the octogenarians that are around now who are voting for Labor aren't going to, and Greens, they're not going to be around long enough to deal with the consequences. Like, we're going to be stuck here. Our kids are going to be stuck here, and they're going to be shuffling off their mortal coil, and they don't have to. They don't have to reap the consequences of their own actions. I mean, that generation has had the easiest life. I mean, they bought a house for $7,000. They earned an income where the wife could stay at home. They now travel the country in a $150,000 car with a $200,000 caravan, blocking up our highways, driving 80 kilometers an hour on a 110 kilometer an hour road.
And that's when they don't flip the caravan.
Road rage and kill them, and they are ruining our lives, and they are spending all the inheritance in their grandchildren because they ruined their children's lives because they were such piss poor parents, and now they're ruining everyone else's lives because of the way they vote.
Well, given the price of gold at the moment and the actions that have happened today in Iran and Israel, there probably isn't going to be much of an inheritance for anyone anyway.
No. I mean, that's
because inflation's going to go through the roof.
I'd rather put my inheritance or my a fund for my daughter into Bitcoin than put it into just a bank account or something.
I don't know. I've lost a lot of trust in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because I think that once they make the CDCs, you're going to see that Bitcoin and all the other ones just get annihilated. Because the bank won't want competition.
What is it? Ecuador that uses Bitcoin as a currency now? As their sole currency.
I think it's getting more accepted at the moment, but once the banks get control again,
having the halvening again. So, but honestly,
it's good in the short term. If you just put some in, wait till it goes up and sell out. See, I'd rather put my money into long term foods and store them up because down the track as prices go up, that's going to pay themselves.
I'm just talking if you're putting away cash for your kids. It's like buying a new car, then you can give it to your kid. You get a new one after that, whatever. Same kind of thing. It's like you buy Bitcoin now, you can give it to them later or whatever. But back to the government overreach and dependency here in Australia, I think that generation has condemned us to the life that we are now, where we have the issue of China knocking on our doorstep. We have the issue of mass immigration destroying our country. We have the issue of our government is selling us out to China and other countries and leaving us here broke, poor, and unarmed.
Yeah, well, you look at the lessons that our government hasn't learned. The lessons learnt in Ukraine, in Israel, when they were both attacked, they couldn't give our guns to their populations fast enough.
Yes,
Yet everyone's so reactionary rather than being proactive.
exactly. It's especially with Ukraine, it's very poignant that
Fuck
especially with
Ukraine.
America, because they have the rights to defend themselves in a lot of the states over there, and they have the firearms to do that. I mean, the old saying is never invade America because behind every blade of grass is a firearm. The vitriol and the tenacity that the leftists in America have to getting rid of firearms in the US, but they're willing to spend billions of hundreds of millions of dollars on Ukraine to give them firearms. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like, well, you guys see why having guns is probably a good idea to keep your nation intact, especially when there's a massive aggressor right next to you. I mean, America doesn't have a massive aggressor right next to them. I mean, Canada is run by a totalitarian communistic
Canada's
dictator.
friendly. They all say, eh.
Yeah, no, Canada's friendly. The government not friendly, and plus they're not friendly to Americans because everyone hates
I'm
Americans,
just
especially
being a smart ass.
Canadians. I mean, they've got their right to own firearms over there, but they want to take that away and give it to Ukrainians.
Yeah.
It's the same here. It's like we're willing to spend over $100 million on making sure Ukraine can defend itself, but we're not allowed to defend ourselves. I don't get that. And the mentality here is, yet again, down to the issue of she will be right. If you're not Australian, it's she will be right, mate, which means everything's going to be
Well, she
A-okay.
won't be right. And there's
It's
a baby that, if it survives the surgery, is going to find that out the hard way without a mother
exactly
because it wasn't right.
that poor woman handing off her kid to that stranger and then like dying of blood loss and stab wounds after that is fucking heartbreaking. Like, can you imagine if
The
that was
amount
your
of a
partner
piece of
going through
shit
that?
you have to be to harm a child,
And
let alone a woman, but a fucking baby.
that's the mentality of these people. It's like he may not have had religious reasons behind it or political reasons. That's even worse. Like, because religion's made people do some pretty fucking horrible things. I mean, when you've got the superstitial threat of going to hell or heaven, they're pretty big motivators for people. I mean, if you get told, and you honestly, like, I know you
I'm
believe
not
in.
sure if religion's the motivator for doing it or just the shield that they want to hide behind.
Yeah, a lot of the time I think it is because, like, I mean, I think a lot of religions put a gun to their head and you say, like, you've got a 50-50. I pull this trigger if you're wrong. Do you believe in your religion or do you not? A lot of them are going to go, no. But then a lot of them, I'd say it's probably 50-50. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about someone else's faith. I don't know what they're feeling. But
Well, you don't
being,
mind any other time.
but being like motivated by having these heaven or hell as a prospect is a massive motivator, especially if you believed it 100%. Like if I believed in heaven and hell the way I believe that I'm existing right now, it's a fact to me. It's not a belief, it's a fact. I know it's real, I know it's there, like a lot of these psycho terrorists do. Then yeah, I'd be willing to pretty much do anything to make sure I go to heaven. But this guy apparently, I'm not gonna say obviously, but apparently, as of recording this, he's not a Muslim, he's not an extremist terrorist, he's not a Jew, he's just an average person who had a mental break as of releasing this. Whether I believe that or not is another story. But
Jew,
with
Muslim, Christian, if you truly love God, you don't do this shit. It takes
well,
someone who does
there's
not
religions where
believe
it's written in
but
there
has
to
been
do this stuff.
radicalized. There's a difference between being radicalized and actually believing in the religion.
Yeah, yeah. It's they can blame it on whatever it is. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, these people should still be alive. This person should have been helped with more with their mental health issues, which is you work in that field at the moment.
Having had some experience in mental health as a nurse, there's only so much you can do.
There is, yeah. Having had, working in the mental health industry as being a nutcase myself, I've seen reports on this guy. He's had reports saying that he was under psychiatric care 10 years ago, things like that. That doesn't mean.
But we got rid of our mental asylums here, and it was the dumbest thing we've ever done because apparently they're barbaric. But someone like him would have been in a facility getting treatment.
Theoretically, that was if he was if he was out with it. A lot of people. I've just had someone recently close to me snap. And there's no mental health issues there beforehand. Whether it's drugs now might be an issue, but you don't. Sometimes it's like when you hear that thing like, "Oh, no one knew he was going to kill himself. He was always so happy. We didn't see this coming." This kind of thing. It's the same thing. I mean, a lot of school shooters in the States and that people say, "No, we didn't see him doing this. This is, not like him. This is insane." A lot of things you just can't prepare for, and I think using the mental health card a lot of the time is a cope. I think it's just their way of going, "Oh, well, that's why he did it, not because he's, hating Jews or praying to Allah or anything like that, but that's why he did it." It's a very easy out where it doesn't upset a big majority of the population. And
but Americans spend so much money trying to fight gun rights that could be being put into mental health.
Yes,
because it is not a sane mind that goes into a school and shoots it up. It is a very sick mind.
Yeah, and to be fair, some of those kids shouldn't have been bullying that kid.
Yeah, but that's the other side of it too.
Thing. I mean,
play stupid games,
like,
win stupid prizes.
They're Americans though. Like, there's going to be a school shooting every other day when Trump's in office, when he gets back in. But apparently, there's none during Joe Biden. Well, very few during Joe Biden. I mean, but every other day with Donald Trump in, there was.
The fact is, and it comes back to testosterone. And a lot of other stuff. Kids have no coping skills these days.
Especially the way they're mollycoddled.
It gets too much. They get overwhelmed. They go and do something stupid, and it's everyone else's fault.
Exactly. I mean, they're putting butt plugs with cattails in, and they're thinking that they're the opposite gender. But, they should be, listened to, and no, they shouldn't be. They should be treated a lot of the times.
Yeah, and the people that keep pushing for it to be normalized need to be castrated.
Yeah. And the issues with this incident here in Australia with that 40-year-old man were our mental health facilities up to scratch? Probably not, because I'm going through issues with getting doctor's appointments now, even with issues with public hospitals. Australia likes to spruik their free healthcare, and our healthcare is piss poor a lot of the time. I know someone close to me that has a brain tumor at the moment and is causing some issues, and they can't even talk to a doctor for, I don't know how many, it's probably been 3 months now, or since last year. They haven't been able to have a specialist appointment or anything like that to talk about what to do about this brain tumor. And that's in Australia in the year 2024 that we can't even do that. I know a bloke that's been going through cancer treatment for the last 6 years, and during COVID they just kept putting off his treatment. It was removal of polyps from his intestines, and they kept putting it off. They put it off for 2 years because of COVID, because they're worried he was going to get COVID, or they could have given him COVID. They weren't worried about him getting cancer again, but they were worried about COVID. So it just goes to show you that doctors don't know everything, and the healthcare system doesn't care about you as a person. You are a number, and a friendly reminder that the government hates you. I mean, I'm going through cancer stuff myself, and I can see how easily you could be lost in the system or forgotten, or just not being a priority. Because I mean, you're definitely a priority to yourself and to others around you, but the government and the healthcare system doesn't care, and that could have been very well the case here with this bloke who lost his shit and went on a stabbing rampage. He could have just been falling through the cracks.
The system, I'll just interrupt there. The system doesn't care about you. The individual nurses and the doctors do give a shit.
Yeah, but you're only there for a short period of time. That's the issue. Is you see them when they come in, and then
Yeah, but when I'm there, I bend over backwards for my people.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the bureaucratical nonsense of the whole thing. I mean, I work with the government, contracting for the government and council and services like that, and the guys that you work with on the ground, they're great. You know, you have a fucking beer with them at the end of the day. You talk to them. They got the same thing going on as you. They're just another person. But when you start going through the layers of red tape, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. It's probably worse with the healthcare system. I mean, we just had an incident where we had to go to the hospital with a newborn. She was
I remember that.
She was registering a fever at the local hospital. Turns out the local hospital's thermometers were broken. Sent us down to the big hospital a couple of hours away. Got down there. Spent 3 days there just because the other hospital had broken thermometers and had registered a high temperature. 3 days in a hospital for no reason. It's like, oh, we're making sure, but like, being careful because it's a newborn infant and blah, blah, blah. But they don't seem to care. Their paperwork, they care personally, but the paperwork and the red tape doesn't care.
Yeah, well, that's the flip side, Isaac, where my current 4-year-old ended up with E. coli in his bloodstream from a UTI when he was 6 weeks old, and they didn't act fast enough, and then he ended up having to have a tube inserted through here to his heart to get antibiotics. So, like, if they don't act, things go bad pretty quickly.
Yeah, and
so it sounds to me like it was an abundance of caution, but apparently
things like that. That's what I mean. Like, that wasn't a bad experience, but like the red tape was messing them up. Like, there was things they could have said, no, everything's good. You guys are allowed to go home now, but the red tape was really hindering them. And that's anything to do with government, which is why we need a smaller government, and we need a government that lets us make our own
get rid of
decisions.
Jackie Lambie.
Yeah, we need a government that lets us make its own decisions on protecting ourselves and protecting our loved ones and our healthcare and everything like that, because at the end of the day, we should be slightly responsible for our own actions and our own well-being. And I think this incident in Bondi is just another coping mechanism for the government, just to say, we're here to protect you, make sure you give us over all your freedoms and your rights so we can protect you more. Now, I won't be surprised if they try to ban some sort of gun, or they try to ban some firearms or knives or something like that. They'll bring in some sort of draconian measure to fix this.
Knives practically are already banned here. Like, realistically, if you, like you were saying before, if you carry one around, you're already in shit.
Yes, basically. If you read the letter of the law, I don't state by state, but where I am,
They'll probably make mental health illegal.
Yeah, it's basically you if you've got a good reason to have it and you're not using it as a weapon. Like, if you stab someone, it's obviously a weapon. If you pick up a stick, they will charge you with using a stick as a weapon. It doesn't matter what it is. If you use it to brandish it or scare someone or to hurt someone or something like that, you've got a weapon. It doesn't matter what it is. So I don't see why knives would be any different. Knives are tools, but the government just, they don't like us having anything like that, obviously. But
I just feel like the men in that shopping centre could have done so much more, because he clearly displayed that he was fearful of the men.
Yeah, I get that as like 2020 vision after the fact too.
But it's like the so I forget what the rule's called, but the more people that are there, the less people do anything to help.
Yeah, that's what I mean about being in cities. There's all those studies where they have that dude pretending to beat up his girlfriend or something, and then no one intervenes. And
Yeah.
they do it in the middle of a city, and then
Because everyone thinks, oh, someone else will do something.
Someone else will do it. Yeah, someone else will do it. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, it's I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something primal from the human beings, but yeah, it's.
And I'm not trying to float my boat, but I definitely would have stood up to that guy and done something more than just try to scare him off.
Yeah, I saw videos of the people just standing there looking at him, and he ran towards them, and they didn't move. They weren't like trying to fight him or anything like that. They were just, I don't know, they were shocked, or it just seemed like they didn't know what was going on. They saw that he had a big knife too. It wasn't a little knife. It was a big fucking knife, and he theoretically had already stabbed several people and been covered in blood, and he's walking around with a knife, and people didn't raise an alarm with them. They just stood there.
But there was a video of the guy that kind of just raised his arms at him, and he like turned his back and went that way.
Yeah.
If I was that guy, I would have grabbed him from behind and put him in a headlock.
Yeah. There's a million things like, yeah. I'm not gonna try not to shit on anyone that didn't do anything.
No, but it's like,
yeah, but
no one did anything, and that's what's getting to me. Like,
oh, the dude with the bollard thing on the escalator. Who knows how many people he saved just by stalling him?
Yeah,
you know, like if I don't know what happened with that bollard, wherever he threw it at him. It looked like he was going to throw it at him. I hope he didn't.
I watched a video late last night of this guy. He's a Bondi surf rescue guy. Yeah, he was a fucking hero, dude. Even though he thought there were still more attackers out there, he went out and tried to assist the police to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. I think it's got a lot to do with the government's going to help us, and
no, they're not. The government and the police are not there to help you. They are just there to charge the people after the fact.
Yes.
People are like, I've got security cameras, that'll protect me. No, they'll just prove who killed you.
Yes, that'll just show them video evidence of what happened. They don't care. It's not going to stop. I think that is the biggest issue. Is another issue with the Australian mentality of she'll be right, mate. And I don't see it getting any better until it's not. I mean, the day that we see bombs dropping in our major cities and we have people landing on our shores.
Oh, mate, they probably would start. She'll be right.
Yeah. They'll be like, no. Albo's got it. You're like Penny Wong's out there to the Chinese, like, I am one of you. I don't.
No, I'm sure that bitch is selling secrets back to China.
Oh yeah, well, someone is, and they haven't told us who. It's probably her. Well,
she's always quick to defend them.
Yeah, that's it. I know we can probably leave it there if you like. You have anything you want to add about your YouTube channel? You want to send some people there, so.
Yep. If you just post the links up, if you guys want to search it, it's Aussie Survival and Preparedness. I do a lot of preparedness type videos, and I also do a lot of just random sort of adventures. Try to keep it fun. It's going to be getting a lot more professional in the coming year. I'm going to try and increase the quality of the videos because a lot of them are pretty half-assed. But they're good. The information's there, so that's the main thing.
So I'll add a link in the description to all of Tom's stuff. If you guys would like to go and leave him a like, a share, and a follow, make sure you go follow him on all the platforms that'll leave linked there. If you could like this video, share it around, comment down below, let us know what you think. If you have a stupid leftist idea, we'll love to argue in the comments. It's always fun.
Oh, yes.
You can find me on X, you can find me on YouTube here. Rumble is a good home for us because we say a lot of politically incorrect shit. Gets us in trouble. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next episode of Crossing the Line. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.